Good afternoon. I'm Saad Al-Aziz, the owner and head instructor of Semper Fortis Jiu Jitsu here in San Antonio, Texas, and here to tackle this week's question of the week that has come up a few times. I've just sort of kicked the question down the road as far as answering it on YouTube. And basically the question is, using Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in self-defense when you're attacked in a street fight scenario, and how that differs from, sport training. And the main way it differs is in sport training, when a person taps or submits, I stop. And the referee will say, oh, the fight, the match is over, we stop. In a street fight, I cannot stop just when they tap. I am going to injure them. Like, I hope to never be in a street fight again and for the rest of my life. I don't want to be in a street fight. But if I'm in a street fight, I realize that it's a life or death scenario. When a person swings a punch at your head, it can connect, knock you out. And there's numerous examples of where the person who got knocked out, that got hit, they fall, their head hits the ground, hits the curb, hits something hard, and that second blow ends up being a fatal blow and they die. So a street fight is a life or death scenario. And in those scenarios, you have to disable the person that is attacking you. So people hear me in class when I talk about self-defense, and I say, man, I hope not to get into a fight, but if I do, the person that attacked me, if they're fortunate, I will catch them in a choke and I'll just put them to sleep. If they're unfortunate, I'm going to catch them in a joint lock and I'm going to break that joint. So whether it's their arm, their leg, shoulder, it's going to go bad for them. They are going to be severely injured. And so, the question was why I wouldn't accept the tap. And the reason is, a street fight is not a sport. A street fight is a life or death scenario. If you're in an MMA cage, there's a referee in there, the person can tap and, you can disengage safely. If you're in a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu tournament, there's a referee there, your opponent can tap, you can disengage safely. But if you're in a street fight, you're counting on the person that tapped. I don't know if they learned how to tap because they watched the UFC, or when I was a kid, we used to fight and back when I was in kindergarten, first, second grade, and we'd get somebody and be like, okay, say uncle. And that was their way of tapping. You'd have to say uncle if you got tired of getting punched in the face. I don't know if they do that anymore, but that was an old school way of tapping. Say uncle. So the reason I'm going to put them to sleep, or I'm going to break their arm or leg or tear their joint, is because I don't know for sure if when the person submits, if they tap or say uncle, if the fight is over, if they're going to have integrity and keep their word and not fight no more. And there's been numerous examples where, years ago, it was around 2008, 2009, with some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys up in Dallas, and they got into an argument in an apartment complex, and one of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys was a world champion, and him and this person, they got into a fight, and he gets the mount on him, and he's like, I could really hurt you really bad, but I'm going to let you go. He lets him go. The guy gets up, goes to his truck, pulls out a pistol, and starts shooting in the air. And of course, all the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys dispersed, but they were all very lucky that he chose to shoot in the air by shooting at them. So when the person on top, the Jiu-Jitsu champion, decided, hey, I'm going to be nice, I'm not going to hurt this guy any more than he's already been hurt, and I'm just going to let him go, that was a very nice thing to do. Unfortunately, it almost cost him his life. Here's another video. It looks like it's in a parking garage, and it must have been like their security cameras captured it, where a person attacks another person, and the other person who was being attacked clearly knew jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu or judo or both, And they do a beautiful hip throw as that person is trying to punch them. They throw them on the concrete. And immediately go to an armbar. Phenomenal. I mean, very impressive self-defense. The problem is they didn't break their arm. And they let go because the person, was, you couldn't hear the audio. I'm guessing they said, tap. Well, when they did, and they let go, the person pulled out of their pocket a knife and stabbed the Jiu Jitsu guy 5 or 6 times. Because you didn't break their arm, because you was nice, you let them go. And then, of course, famous incident recently with Leandro Lo, a wonderful human being, one of the all-time greats in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition and in teaching, gets into a fight. He lets the guy go without injuring him, and the guy gets a gun and murders Leandro Lo. So that's why those 3 incidents, as an example, is why when I tell people in class, in self-defense, there is no tapping. This isn't a sport. If you are fighting for your life, if you get attacked in the parking lot, if you get attacked in the store, if you get attacked in your home, wherever you're being attacked, this person is there swinging at your head. They're trying to kill you. Because there's a potential that they will kill you if they connect. And if you just let them go without injuring them, and I'm not talking about if the police are on the scene and they say, hey, let him go. Absolutely, let him go. But if the police are not on the scene, you being nice could very well cost you your life by just letting him go. So if I'm in a street fight, if the person is fortunate, I catch him in a choke, and I just put them to sleep, and then I leave them. And they'll wake up sometime later and realize, I made a mistake. I picked the wrong guy to mess with. If it's not a choke and I catch him in an arm bar, a kimura, a knee bar, that joint just got broke. That bone just got broke. And I'm not pausing, so the person can tap and say, I've had enough for uncle. It's like, no, you're taking a serious injury here, because I'm going to make sure you are no longer able to bring the fight to me. We're going to be done. I'm not going on, this person has integrity or their word that they don't want to fight no more. And I know, there might be some lawyer or some legal beagle watching this video and say, if they tap, you got to let them go. I don't know what the law is. And when I say I don't know what the law is, I'm considering this a fight for our lives. And at the end of the day, if somebody attacks you in a street fight, I would rather go to court and be judged by 12 people than have a funeral and be carried by 6 people. So that's my philosophy on that. So when you hear me in class say, if you're in a street fight, you're breaking the joint. And of course, I don't say that to the kids, unless the kids are fighting an adult, and be like, no, you break the joint or you put them to sleep. But kids on kids, I would not endorse that. But that's why my page is for 18. My YouTube channel is 18 and above. That's the age limit I put on it, because I'm talking to adults here. And if you get caught and if somebody attacks you, you need to disable them so they cannot attack you no more. And that's where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is incredibly effective in a street fight, is doing that. All right, thank you so much. As always, if you got a question for next week, I think I got a question already for next week. This is actually my second question of the week that I'm answering this week, but I don't mind. It only takes me a few minutes. But anytime you have a question, as always, you can put a comment below with your question. Hit me up on social media, or when you see me in class, ask your question, and I'll do the best to answer it. And it doesn't matter, like, I originally created this channel just for my students here at the school at Semper Fortis, but there's been other people who I've never met from other schools that have asked questions, and I don't mind answering the questions. I'm not a big YouTube channel. I'm actually a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but a white belt in social media. But if you got a question, I'll answer it. So no worries. All right. Have a great week. Look forward to talking to you soon. Ciao.